Hey, before we start the story, please subscribe to the channel to help us reach 1,000 subscribers. Leave a like and comment below where you're listening from, too. Now take a deep breath and watch until the end if you dare. There are things they never teach you in nursing school. Things no one can teach. Like what it feels like to watch someone die 3 times in one night, opened. Or to feel the weight of eyes on you from a bed that should have been empty. It's been 7 years since that night, but even now, when I walk past a trauma bay and hear a monitor beep, opened, I feel my chest tighten. The smell of antiseptic and metal still makes me nauseous. I worked the night shift at St. Raphael's Emergency Department, a mid-size urban hospital with too few staff, opened, too many patients and too many ghosts. That night started like any other Friday shift, understaffed, overbooked, undercaffeinated. The air smelled of bleach and rain, and we were halfway through triage when the trauma bay doors slammed open. Paramedics rushed in with a gurney, their uniforms soaked and streaked with mud. Male, mid-30s, opened. Found unresponsive in his car off Route 17, no ID. Pupils fixed, shallow pulse. One of them shouted, "Code Blue!" Someone yelled, and we were off, opened. The patient's body was covered in blood and glass shards, but there were no obvious injuries. No crash trauma, no burns. Just blood. Too much of it, but not from a visible wound, opened. His veins stood out like dark cables under his skin, and his eyes. God, I'll never forget his eyes. They were open, but unfocused, opened, and they flicked toward me for just a moment when we transferred him to bed 7. The lights flickered. Dr. Klein took over compressions, his voice sharp and rhythmic. "Epinephrine, 1 milligram!" Opened. Clear, his body jerked under the paddles. Once, twice, 3 times, flatline. Then, against all logic, a steady rhythm, the monitor beeped to life. Everyone exhaled at once, and exchanging quick glances of disbelief. It was a miracle save. Or it should have been. The man's vitals stabilized, but something about his expression bothered me, opened. His skin was pale, not in the way of blood loss, but like the color had been pulled out of him. His lips twitched as if he wanted to say something, but no sound came. I leaned close, opened. "Can you hear me, sir? You're safe now." His eyes snapped to mine, pupils dilating. He whispered something, so faint I thought I imagined it, opened. "Don't let me go back." Then his heart stopped again. We shocked him, restarted, lost him, restarted 4 times in total. Finally, after 2:43 a.m., we called the time of death. Dr. opened. Klein muttered something about adrenaline overdose, signed the paperwork, and walked out, already moving on to the next patient. But I couldn't move, opened. His hand was still warm when I covered his body with the sheet, and I swear when I did, his fingers twitched. The rest of the shift passed in a blur. I tried to shake it off. Adrenaline, fatigue, and the usual cocktail of exhaustion and caffeine. But bed 7 stayed in my peripheral vision all night, the curtain drawn, the body waiting for transport to the morgue. At 40:30 a.m. I heard it. A slow, opened, irregular beeping, a heart monitor. Coming from bed 7, I froze. All the monitors had been turned off. We always disconnect them after time of death, but there it was, the rhythmic tone of a pulse. I walked over, every instinct screaming. The curtain rustled slightly, even though there was no draft. The monitor light blinked green, steady, opened. Patient ID unknown, male active. I stared at the sheet, covered shape on the bed. For a second, I thought I saw it rise and fall, as if breathing. My mouth went dry. I reached for the monitor cord and yanked it from the wall. The screen flickered off instantly. When I turned back, the bed was still flat still. I pulled the curtain back. The sheet was empty. Nobody. No blood, and no evidence anyone had ever been there. I stumbled back, nearly knocking over a tray. "Dr. Klein." I called out, my voice echoing, no response. Everyone else was busy in triage, opened. I looked at the monitor again. The screen was dark, but faintly, just faintly. I could see the reflection of a face on it. Not mine. By morning, opened. The chart for bed 7 had vanished from the digital system. The patient's file, the trauma report, even the vitals data, all erased. I asked IT about it, and they said, there's no record of that case number. The paramedics who brought him in. Their shift report didn't include the call. They swore they'd never brought anyone from Route 17 that night. Opened. I stopped arguing. No one believed me anyway. But when I clocked out that morning, exhausted and shaking, I passed by the Morgue hallway. Just as I did, the lights flickered again. The faintest smell of ozone filled the air, and from behind the Morgue door, I heard a whisper, low, ragged, unmistakable, "Don't let me go back." The human brain is good at finding patterns. Opened. It's what keeps us sane in a place like the ER. The blood, the screams, the chaos, all follow some order if you look hard enough. But that night, order died in bed 7. The morning after, opened. I told myself I'd imagined it. Sleep deprivation, fluorescent light fatigue, the side effects of 3 energy drinks, and no meal. But when I came in for my next shift, opened. Something felt off the moment I scanned my badge at the staff entrance. The automatic doors hesitated before opening, like the sensors couldn't recognize me. Opened. A tiny static charge crawled up my arm as I passed through. The air smelled faintly of ozone, the sharp, electric tang you get after lightning strikes. It clung to my clothes, my hair, opened, even my tongue. Inside, the ER hummed with its usual chaos, the chorus of alarms, intercom calls, and metallic clangs. But it felt muted, opened, like the sound was being filtered through something thick and invisible. "Morning, Lila," called out Carla, the charge nurse, her tone too bright. "You on triage again?" I nodded, opened, forcing a smile. "Yeah, long night," she chuckled. "Aren't they all? You okay? You look pale." I opened my mouth to respond, then stopped. Over her shoulder, opened. The trauma bay curtain rippled, the one over bed 7. But it shouldn't have been there. That bed had been stripped, cleaned, and reassigned. Opened. Maintenance had removed the curtain that morning after the incident. I watched them do it. Yet now, there it was, drawn shut, faintly moving, as if someone were inside. I blinked, opened, and it was gone. The curtain had never been there. Just the bare metal rail, empty hook swaying slightly. "Yeah," I said quietly. "Just tired." That night, around 200 a.m., the ER slowed down, opened. I was catching up on charting when one of the monitors flickered on its own. A random glitch. Common enough. But then another lit up, then another, until the entire trauma bay buzzed with life. Opened. "Is maintenance testing the power lines?" I called out. No answer. The hallway beyond was empty. The screen in front of me showed a familiar pattern. Heart rate 74 BPM SpO2. Opened. 98% blood pressure. Aluninte Siki 76. Patient ID'd unknown male bed 7. I froze. The machine was plugged in, yes, but there was no patient connected. I reached out and pressed power. Opened. The display blinked once, then returned to the same vitals, perfectly steady. A faint hum built up from inside the machine, almost like breathing. Then, a cold wind brushed the back of my neck. Opened, and that smell again. Ozone. Burnt metal. Electricity in the air. "Who's there?" I whispered. From the darkness beyond the monitor, a faint voice replied. Opened. "I told you not to let me go back." The power cut out. Everything went black. The emergency generator kicked in seconds later, humming to life. I stumbled backward, pulse hammering. Opened. The monitors rebooted, all of them flashing, no data input. The ER doors at the far end slid open with a hiss, even though no one had triggered them. Dr. Klein appeared, opened, squinting in the dim backup lights. "Power outage?" he asked. "Yeah," I stammered. "Must have been the storm." He frowned. "There's no storm." When I looked out, the glass doors opened. The sky was clear, silent, too still for a city hospital. Later that night, opened. I found myself wandering to the supply corridor near the cold rooms. where the bodies wait before being taken to pathology. I shouldn't have gone there. Opened. But something pulled me. The same instinct that makes you check under the bed even when you know you shouldn't. The smell was strongest there. Ozone mixed with formaldehyde and detergent. Opened. And underneath it another scent. One I recognized instantly: blood. The storage light flickered overhead as I stepped in. All the doors were sealed except one, drawer 7, slightly opened. I leaned close. The tag on the outside was missing. Just a faint mark from where tape had been peeled away. I swallowed hard and reached for the handle. Behind me, the lights buzzed. Opened. Something crackled in the air, static crawling across my arms like invisible ants. When I slid the drawer open, it was empty. But the sheet inside was damp. And on the inner edge of the drawer, opened, scratched deep into the metal, were 4 words: Dio Elite Memi Go. I stumbled out, shaking. Opened. My ID badge pinged an alert at the door. Someone had just used my login at the central nurses' station. I sprinted there, breath coming in sharp bursts. On the monitor, open on my profile, opened, was an active chart: patient, unidentified male, bed 7, admitted, status stable, last nurse assigned Leela E. U. The timestamp showed the current time. I logged out instantly, and my hands trembling so hard I mistyped my password twice. When the system finally cleared, the chart disappeared again, erased. Carla came up behind me, yawning. "Everything okay?" "You look like you've seen a ghost." I laughed weakly. "Just tech issues." She smiled. "It's this place. The whole ER's haunted. You know that, right?" I stared at her. Opened. "You're joking." Her grin faltered. "No, really. Every hospital has its stories, but this one's different. People say the basement's cursed. Old electrical fire in the 70s. Opened. The whole trauma wing burned down. They rebuilt it, but," she shrugged, "some nights you smell burnt metal, like lightning." I said nothing, but I could smell it even now. Faint, electric. Opened, invasive. It clung to my scrubs long after I went home. I barely slept. Every time I closed my eyes, I saw his face, not the pale, lifeless one from the trauma bay, but awake, eyes wide, opened, lips moving soundlessly. By the next shift, I'd convinced myself I'd hallucinated most of it. Stress, grief, sleep debt. That's what I told myself as I walked into the ER again. Opened. But when I passed the trauma bays, something made me stop. Someone had drawn the curtain over bed 7, and this time a chart hung from the foot of the bed. Clean, new, and dated today. Name: opened. Unidentified male, attending Dr. Klein, status admitted. Under observation. I stared at the page. The handwriting was mine. That was the night the whisper turned into a voice. Opened. And the haunting became real. When you work long enough in an emergency department, you learn to trust 2 things above all else: your instincts and the monitor. People lie. Charts get fumbled, and memory blurs. But vitals don't lie, or at least they aren't supposed to. The following night began quietly, too quietly. No drunks, no stabbings, no car wrecks, just an eerie lull. Opened. The kind that makes every nurse uneasy. Calm never lasts in the ER. It's just the silence before the next scream. I was double, checking IV lines in Bay 3 when I heard Carla mutter behind me. "Hey," and "Leela, why are you logged into bed 7 again?" My stomach turned to ice. "What?" She turned the screen toward me, and there it was. My profile photo and user ID flashing across the top of the charting system. Active for patient, unidentified male, bed 7. Vitals scrolling: live HR 78, SPO to 97%, res beat. Open 14B 1 to achieve A80, temp 36.7 GC. "Did you open this?" Carla asked. "No," I whispered. "It's not me." "Then who?" The monitor blinked once. The rhythm spiked. HR 140. Opened, SPO 2 dropping. Then a new line appeared on the log: nurse action administered epinephrine. Entered by Leela E. timestamp YO 216 AM. Carla stared at me, mouth open. Opened. "Are you?" I didn't. I grabbed the keyboard, trying to close the window, but the cursor wouldn't move. The screen flickered violently, static crawling across the display, opened. Then the speakers crackled, a faint, rhythmic tone between the alarms. A voice, clear, the sound of a defibrillator charging. Clear. Shock. The monitor flashed white, opened. The vitals steadied, heart rate 74. The same number every time. Carla backed away. What the hell is this? Before I could answer, the trauma bay lights dimmed. All of them. Then the smell opened. Sharp, metallic, electric ozone. We called it maintenance. They ran diagnostics. No power surges, no electrical faults. Maybe interference from the backup generator. The tech suggested, opened. But the generator wasn't running. Around 300 a.m., I couldn't resist. I went back to bed 7. The curtain was closed again. The chart still hung at the end of the bed, opened. But something new was written on it, in handwriting not mine, not Klein's, jagged and uneven, still here. I pulled the curtain back. The bed was empty. Clean sheets, folded corners, opened. Nothing unusual, except for one thing. On the pillow lay a single ECG lead, still warm. I turned to leave, but my badge scanner chirped. The system had logged me entering the patient room, opened. Only staff with badges could do that, and it only logged the moment you entered, not when you left. But when I exited the bay, the reader chirped again. 2 entries. No exit. At 4:10 a.m., opened. Alarms blared across the ward. Code blue. Trauma bay 7. Everyone jumped up. Carla shouted, "Who the hell's in 7?" But when we rushed in, there was nobody. Opened. The monitor was going wild. Heart rate 160, BP spiking, oxygen dropping. Dr. Klein appeared, confusion carved into his face. "What's going on? False alarm," Carla said. Opened. System glitch. "Then why's it logging compressions?" He snapped. I looked. He was right. The digital readout showed CPR data. Compressions timing, even voice detection. Opened. Resume compressions. I push 1 milligram EPI. Dr. Klein turned to me slowly. "That's my voice," he whispered. He leaned closer to the speaker, pale. Opened. "That's from last week's code." The machine was replaying his resuscitation audio from the night the man died. Exactly, word for word. Opened. Then it started adding new lines, words no one had said. "You let me go. Bring me back." And then, in a flat, mechanical tone, the patient stabilized. "Nursey Leela," opened. I ripped the power cable from the wall. The beeping stopped instantly. Silence fell so complete it felt deafening. Klein didn't believe me, but he looked shaken. Opened. "Get IT to scrub the logs," he muttered, walking away. But I knew he'd seen it, the reflection on the monitor before it went dark. A face, pale, eyes wide open. When I left that morning, opened. Dawn was breaking. I sat in my car, engine running, shaking so hard I could barely hold the steering wheel. Then my phone buzzed. Unknown number, no caller ID. I answered, voice trembling. Opened. "Hello?" Static. Then breathing. "Don't let me go back." I hung up, heart slamming in my chest, but the screen stayed lit. A new message appeared, no number, just a timestamp. Yo 2Z43 a.m. Opened. Patient stable. Bed 7. That was the exact time we'd called time of death. By my next shift, word had spread. Nurses whispered about the phantom patient, the ghost chart. Opened. One said she'd seen a man standing by the trauma bay window, pale, barefoot, his hospital gown soaked in blood. Security checked the footage. They found nothing. But when I asked to see it myself, opened, I noticed something no one else did. Every time the timestamp reached 2T43, the footage froze, then skipped ahead 5 seconds, as if something had been erased. That night, Carla refused to assign me to trauma. "Take triage," she said. "You need a break." I didn't argue, but as I sat by the front desk, half asleep, I heard the automatic doors slide open. Opened. A man stepped inside, tall, drenched from head to toe as though he'd walked through rain. But it wasn't raining. He stared directly at me, his eyes pale and glassy, lips parted. Opened. "Can't I help you, sir?" I managed. He didn't answer. He just lifted his wrist, a hospital ID band, and held it up. The name field was blank. The number read 7. before I could move, and he turned and walked down the hallway toward the trauma bays. "Sir," I called after him, getting up, but he was gone. When I reached the corridor, the door to bed 7 was closed, and on the inside of the glass, written in fog from a breath that shouldn't exist, were 2 words: "Vitals lie. Hospitals record everything." Every hallway, every door opened. Every flick of motion inside a trauma bay is caught on at least 3 cameras. It's part of what makes an ER feel safe. Even if no one's around, someone's watching. That's what I told myself. Opened. Anyway, 2 nights after the Vitals Lie incident, the hospital's risk management department called a staff meeting. Opened. It was held in the small conference room beside radiology, the one with no windows and the hum of a dying fluorescent tube. Dr. Klein sat at the head of the table, arms crossed, eyes bloodshot. Opened. Beside him was a man I didn't recognize. Suit, visitor badge, laptop open but screen dark. Carla and I slipped into seats at the back. "All right," Klein started. Opened. "There's been a data anomaly on the security network. IT flagged unusual access patterns linked to bed 7. Mr. Raid here is from administration. He'll explain." The man in the suit nodded. Opened. "We're reviewing security footage from the night of the incident. For confidentiality reasons, this material stays in this room." He tapped his keyboard. Opened. The screen came alive with the familiar grainy view of the trauma bay. Timestamps Zosu 4:3 a.m. I felt my stomach twist. There we were, the Rhesus team crowding around the gurney. Opened. Bright lights glaring off metal. Klein calling out drug doses. Carla checking vitals. Me pressing the monitor cables against the patient's chest. "Stop there," Klein said. Opened. Raid froze the frame at Yo-43-2, the moment we'd called time of death. "Watch carefully," Raid murmured. He pressed play for 3 seconds. Nothing moved. Then opened. As we turned away from the bed, the patient's hand twitched. Just once, curling slightly. Static lines jumped across the screen. Opened. Then the image distorted. The entire frame bent, as if dragged downward by invisible hands. When the feed cleared, the bed was empty. Gasps rippled through the room. Klein rubbed his eyes. Opened. This must be a compression artifact. Raid didn't respond. He switched to a second camera, the corridor outside the trauma bay. Timestamp SO2 4:3:10. The door slid open. Something stepped out. Opened. It looked like the patient. Barefooted, hospital gown clinging to him, face half turned toward the camera. But the eyes, they reflected light like an animal's. Opened. 2 bright discs cutting through the gray. He walked down the hall toward the elevators, leaving a trail of dark spots on the tile. Blood, maybe. Then, the feed is cut to black. When it returned, opened, the corridor was empty. No footprints, no stains. "Maintenance found nothing on cleanup," Reed said quietly. Opened, and the elevator logs show no movement between 2I-40 and 3T100. Klein slammed his hand on the table. "It's a glitch, damn it." Opened. "There's no such thing as ghosts in my ER." Reed closed the laptop gently. "Then I'm sure you won't mind if we archive this as restricted." He stood. Effective immediately. Opened. Bed 7 is offline. No patient assignments, no monitor connections. Treat it as under renovation. Carla frowned. "You're serious?" "Deadly." After the meeting, I lingered. Opened. Raid was packing up when I asked, "Did you check the live feed now?" He looked up. "Why? Because I can still smell it," I said. Opened. That faint tang of burnt air hung around us like invisible smoke. He hesitated. Then, almost reluctantly, he reopened his laptop. Opened. We waited while the live camera loaded. A static view of an empty trauma bay sealed behind plastic sheets. Nothing. Then, on the lower edge of the frame, movement. A pulse of light, open like a heartbeat. The EKG monitor flashed once. A flat, green line rolled across the screen. A single tone beeped, 74 BPM. Raid shut the laptop so hard the sound echoed. Opened. "This meeting never happened," he said, and left. I should have gone home. Instead, I went back to the ER floor. The corridor outside bed 7 was cordoned off, opened. Warning tape fluttering in the air conditioner's draft. But I could hear something beyond it. A rhythmic clicking, like nails tapping glass. I pulled the tape aside and stepped in, opened. The bay was stripped, no bed, no curtain, no monitor. Bare walls, tile floor. Yet the monitor socket light glowed green. Active power. The clicking grew louder, opened. I traced it to the wall, specifically the outlet labeled Monitor Input 7. Inside, behind the plate, something was moving. I crouched, heart hammering, and pressed my ear to the metal, opened. A faint voice pulsed through the static. Cody clear, shock. The same audio from that night, looping endlessly. Then a pause. Leela? My own name. I jerked back, opened. Slamming into the counter, the light on the socket blinked twice, then went dark. I didn't tell anyone. Who would believe me? But the following shift, the rumors spread again, and security had lost another hour of footage. All feeds in the ER between 2:40 and 300 were corrupted, wiped clean. Carla cornered me near the break room. You saw it too? And didn't you? I didn't answer. She leaned closer, whispering, He's still here. You can smell it, can't you? The ozone. I nodded. She swallowed hard, opened. He's not the first. What do you mean? There was another case. 10 years ago. Same bed. Same missing footage. They said it was an electrical fire, opened. But the nurse who was on duty, she hesitated. She quit. Said the patient kept calling her name through the intercom after he died. That night, I requested old maintenance logs, opened. The clerk hesitated, then printed a file older than most of the staff. At the bottom, 1978 electrical surge in Trauma Bay 7, 1 fatality. Cause undetermined. The victim's name had been blacked out, but under the blackout, faintly visible in the light, I could read part of it. L. Ellis. My own initials. Sleep was impossible, opened. Every time I closed my eyes, the monitor toned blood into my dreams, 74 BPM, steady, endless. On the third night, I returned to the hospital after hours, opened. I told security I'd left something in my locker. They let me through. The ER was deserted. The hum of machines is deeper, almost like breathing. When I reached the trauma bay, opened, the plastic barrier was gone. Inside, the monitor sat where it always had, connected, powered on. A line of text blinked across the screen, Petty Anti Chained ENTIF NAR SC, opened. I didn't touch anything, but the cursor began typing on its own Leela. Then, resume treatment. The ECG trace started rolling. Beep, 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 steady and alive, opened. From somewhere close, too close, came the sound of wet footsteps. I turned. He stood in the doorway, water dripping from his hair, hospital gown clinging to his chest. His skin shimmered faintly, opened, like light bending through water. His eyes were black holes. He opened his mouth. The same phrase, whispered through static, and don't let me go back. I stepped backward until I hit the monitor stand. The screen flared bright white. Alarms screamed. The smell of ozone thickened until it burned my throat, opened, and then he was gone. Only the ECG trace remained. Flatline. When I staggered out into the corridor, security lights flashed red. The elevator doors at the end of the hall slid open on their own, opened. Inside, faint, wet footprints led in, the elevator indicator beaked basement. No one had pressed the button. I ran the next day, and the administration sealed the entire trauma wing for renovation. All staff were reassigned. Dr. Klein transferred to another hospital. Carla went on leave. No one mentioned bed 7 again, opened, but I know what I saw, and I know what I heard when I checked my voicemail that night. A message with no caller ID, just static and a single tone, steady as a heartbeat, 74 BPM, sleep never came, and every appliance in Leela's apartment hummed at the same rhythm, beep, 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 74 BPM. The air conditioner clicked on by itself. The smell of ozone blood from the wall outlets opened. When she finally drifted off, she dreamed she was back in the trauma bay, but the gurney held her body. Dr. Klein was shouting orders, Carla was crying, The monitor screamed flatline, opened, and the dead man, the one from bed 7, stood where she should have been, wearing her ID badge. She woke up gasping. The clock read 2:43 a.m. Her phone vibrated. New message, opened. Bed 7, admit complete. The same automated format the hospital used. She drove to St. Raphael's in her pajamas, opened. Security tried to stop her until they saw the badge scan. Her name still active on the trauma list, even though she'd been removed from duty. The ER was empty. Every monitor is dark, except one, opened. Bed 7, she walked in. The chart at the foot of the bed was blank except for a single line, TIN-SFAR-ACEPT, and beneath it, in handwriting she recognized as her own, Leela Ellis, patient, opened. The monitor began to chirp, slow and steady, 74 BPM. Then it matched her own pulse exactly, beat for beat. When she lifted her wrist to check, her heart rate watch displayed the same number, and, sensing with the sound, the lights flickered once. She whispered, "What do you want?" "You let me go back." The voice answered from everywhere and nowhere, opened. "No, take my place." The ECG screamed into a flatline. Her body followed. Hospital administration lists Leela as transferred. Carla tries to order an autopsy, paperwork disappears, opened. When she finally accesses the cold room, drawer 7 is sealed with a tag reading ELI cell. A week later, the ER system automatically generates a code blue for bed 7, and staff rush in to find monitors running and Leela, alive, confused, lying on the bed wearing a fresh patient band marked unidentified female. Her vitals, 74 BPM, opened. Carla follows flickering lights down to the abandoned basement wing. Every old monitor there shows the same rhythm, the same name, opened. Files stacked on the desk show a repeating pattern of nurses over 50 years, all initials LE, each listed as deceased or transferred. During a storm, power fails, opened. The ER fills with that metallic scent. On the backup feed, shapes of previous victims shimmer beside each bed. Carla sees Leela among them, calm, whispering, "Stay with us." When dawn comes, opened. Every monitor reads patient stable. Years later, Carla records a confession. It wasn't one ghost. It was a circuit, a loop. Every time we bring someone back who shouldn't return, and someone else has to take their place to keep the current alive. She ends her statement staring into the camera. Behind her, through the window to the ER, a figure in a hospital gown watches. Opened. The monitor on her desk begins to beep, 74 BPM, fade to black. St. Raphael's ER never stopped running bed 7. Administrators deny its existence, opened. Yet the hospital network still pings one active chart every night at 2:43 a.m. Patient ID Auden 7, Nurse Ellis. Sometimes, when the power flickers, staff say the air tastes like lightning, opened. And if you listen closely past the hum of the machines, you'll hear it. The heartbeat that never flatlines.